Gurma Shri Gurudev Shri Lachari Ki Jai Premanandi
Hari Hari Bo.
Sripad Bhakti Kamal Tyagi Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Bhakti Vishkam Santa Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Sripad Bhakti Vigyan Muni Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Madhava Prabhu Ki Jai Raghunath Prabhu Ki Jai Krishna Keshara Prabhu Ki Jai Taras Puri Ki
Hari Hari Bo.
Jai Shri Bhakti Maharaj Ki
Jai. Hari Hari Bo.
Krishna Keshava's mother. Okay, nice to meet you. There's a few layers of significance. There's something in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's something in the historical perspective of the recent Vaishnavas. And we hear something also from the Goswamis of Braja. And all these layers are woven together to make this spectacular thing continues into the present day. But as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, then from a heartfelt as well as ontological perspective, then we can say the nutshell idea is that as much as the devotees, out of their love for Krishna, feel great pain in separation from him and great joy in being reunited with him, so too does Krishna himself feel great desire to reunite with his devotees and great joy in again doing so. So Mahaprabhu, in his vision of Jagannath, he saw Jagannath as Krishna feeling separation from the devotees of Vrindavan. And at the time of Rath Yatra, then Krishna, or Jagannath, is feeling the joy of coming and reuniting with his devotees. And this is something that is felt to be of great goodness on both sides. The devotees are very happy that he is mercifully returning, and he is very happy to come and reciprocate with them, because the entire premise of Mahaprabhu's teachings is that pure love is possible, that it is possible to completely selflessly love another, and that one's own happiness can become completely contingent upon the happiness of the other, and that is a desirable thing, not an undesirable thing. Rather, that is the ultimate state of absorption or immersion, which produces a state of what might seem to us mysterious, but what is described to be a state of great bliss on the part of people. And by analysis, it is said that what is so-called happiness or joy in ordinary life is like some little sparking, if it were possible to be a shadow and like a spark of a shadow, something like that is what would be the comparison of it in material life, because the living entity, what we call the jiva, is covered over by what we call maya or avidya, this state of obstruction of awareness of itself as well as awareness of its eternal relationship with Krishna. And because of that covering, it feels this great sense of absence, this great sense of lack. And it has this constant tendency to fulfill or fill up that emptiness. And when it doesn't know how to do that, then it tries to do that by acquiring particular experiences with objects through the senses. So to try to fill this sense of absence, then people pursue all different types of quote-unquote happiness in ordinary life by eating ice cream, or watching a movie, or developing a hobby, or achieving a success, or whatever. And then when they do those things effectively, they call that experience happiness. And then that gets taught to people when they're kids. They see pictures of champions winning sporting events and models smiling serenely and looking beautiful, and these various things that make people think, oh, if I had that status or that skill or that privilege, then I would also feel this desirable feeling that the appearance of these other people show and say is a great feeling. I want that feeling. But actually those feelings, they are not real happiness. They are like distractions from the absence, but they are not actual positive attainments. So what actually make things pleasurable is that they significantly absorb our mind in a distraction from the absence that it feels. And this experience of getting successfully absorbed is what we call pleasure. So if we taste ice cream, you might think, oh, it tastes so good. But it is not really that the sensation of the taste is producing happiness. Rather, that sensation of taste is absorbing our mind so much, and it's that state of the mind being absorbed, which is actually what we are calling happiness. But really it is not genuine happiness, it is only this shadow form, or this semblance of happiness. And real happiness comes from connecting with the source of happiness, or actual happiness. And Krishna is classically described in the Upanishads as happiness, or he is happiness, as it is said, Raso Vai Sa, that Krishna is this experience that everyone is searching for. And so it says, Rasya Evam Anandam Labdam Bhavati, that only by coming in connection with him does someone actually become happy. So this is the classical analysis of all Vedic Shastra, that the fundamental drive of every living being is to pursue happiness and avoid suffering. And that is ultimately achieved, or properly achieved, only by connecting with Krishna, who is happiness himself, the source of all happiness. And that happiness is spiritual, and that happiness is infinite. Not a distraction from absence that lasts for a finite period of time and is conditioned by so many things within material experience. So the Ratha Yatra is showcasing that. What a great feeling it is to be reunited with Krishna. To have that coming in Krishna's presence and having the chance to make some offering or some service to him. And the idea is that when we experience these semblances of happiness in material life, they exacerbate our tendency to exploit or to control. In other words, we, go for a $1,000 vacation and we have a quote-unquote great experience, and then we think, next time I'm going to go on a $2,000 vacation and it's going to be even better. And we want better services and better goods and higher quality things, and that quote-unquote experience of happiness exacerbates this tendency to try to control and manipulate our environment according to our views more so. But the experience of coming in connection with Krishna produces the opposite effect. It produces less the tendency to control, less the tendency to gain more for oneself, but rather the greater tendency to receive from him. And not only that, but the greater tendency to give to him in return, or to reciprocate. So, just as we observe in ordinary life, children, they want to get Christmas presents, and they can't sleep on Christmas Eve. They want this TV, this video game, or this toy, or whatever. But then, after 20 years, after 30 years, then not only are they, wishing Santa would come and give them the next toy, they became Santa Claus, and now they're giving toys to their kids, right? And there's this gradual shift from the joy of receiving, or the joy of getting, to the joy of giving. And parents know that there is an even greater feeling in giving the thing to the child than there is in even getting it for themselves. So something like that, when we come into connection with real beauty, charm, and love, in Krishna, then that tendency within us to give or to serve in return, that grows very intensely. And so any opportunity to get a chance to express that, to get a chance to make such an offering of service, that comes like gold. That comes like, the long-awaited opportunities. So this festival is celebrating that, this feeling that devotees have when again they will get the chance to offer acts of love and devotion from their hearts to Krishna. This is the thing that they live for. This is the ultimate peaking experiences of their life. And again, it is starting now. So it is a grand celebration. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he had his Leela in Jagannath Puri, then he would lead a grand Sankirtan at this time. And the primary way that they would express this joy at being reunited with Krishna was through Kirtan, through this chanting of Krishna's names. And how intense the chanting was, there is a very beautiful description of, really a ecstatic state of dancing, in which even miraculous effects took place, or it was perceived that as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, then Krishna on the chariot as Jagannath, he was stopping to observe and then running to catch up to see more and then waiting again to observe. And there was this perceived reciprocation between Mahaprabhu and Jagannath, which astonished everyone all the more and left them spellbound watching his dancing. And there were also times when not only Mahaprabhu danced as, so to speak, an expression of his love for Jagannath, but he also danced in a way amidst his companions so as to share that feeling or acknowledge that shared experience with them. Just, something like in our life, if we, go to a baseball game and we see a home run, then there's the experience of, wow, that was a home run. And then there's the experience of looking at our friend or our brother or whoever we're with and going like, did you see that? Oh, I saw that. Yeah, we both saw that. That sense of sharing this incredible thing together. So he also extended that. And as he was dancing, he would also look into the eyes of people and embrace them, or like, are you feeling this too? In other words, he's giving them that feeling and then saying, are you feeling it? And he did this in a sort of mysterious way, where although there were thousands of people present and so many people there, every single person felt, he's sharing this experience with me. He's looking at me. He's hugging me in the middle of this precious moment. Even the fact that he was doing that was also observed by the king of the city, who was on the roof of his palace from a distance. And then he was seeing, look, he's simultaneously somehow sharing this with everyone. And then that was further amazing him. And even though he was at a distance, he also felt like, wow, I'm being given a vision of this. He's also aware of me over here. And this whole sense of connectedness was extended. And like that, there is very beautiful descriptions in Chaitanya Charitamrita of this wonderful moment. And the background of this comes from Krishna Lila. So what we're describing now is Gaura Lila, and these two things are threaded together. You can't have one without the other. They are this wonderful interwoven nectarian singular entity, so to speak, as it says, Krishna Lilamrita Sar Tarashota Shotadar Dosh Dike Bohe Jaha Hoite Se Chaitanya Lilahar Sarovara Akshoy Monoham Sucharaha Tahati. A very favorite verse of our Gurudev, which says that Chaitanya's Lila is like an inexhaustible reservoir. And from that reservoir, in every direction, streams of the nectar of Krishna's Lila are coming out. So in other words, even if we think of Chaitanya's Lila, or we hear some of Chaitanya's Lila, threaded inside of that is this intense, gushing flow of Krishna Lila, and remembrance of Krishna Lila. So they are always woven together. So the Rath Yatra, this is especially prominent. So how it was so, then this goes back to a time in the pastimes of Krishna, some 5,000 years ago, at an event, or at the instance of a solar eclipse. So it was a custom in the society, still today, and has been an ancient custom, that at the time of an eclipse, then people will go to some sacred place and perform some special rites and rituals. I won't go into all the reasons why, it is a custom. And so this place known as Kurukshetra, where later this great battle took place and where the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, that place was already known as a sacred place where people would gather for these special rites and rituals. So when this news came that this eclipse would happen, then Krishna came from his palace on the west coast of India. We have this great coastal palace called Dwaraka. And he went there, and at that time he was the ruling monarch of this coastal empire. And he had all sorts of royal and regal and grand things, gold and jewels and fanfare and grandeur and adoring fans and everything. And he came in a very grand way out to this place. But his early life was not like that. His early life he spent in a place called Vrindavan, which is a simple forest community of people who live by herding cows. Or in other words, they move throughout the forest throughout the years, time to time, almost like a nomadic community, not entirely. They're based in a region, but they're not always in the same area all the time. And they have a very simple, natural life. And they have great opportunity for every type of loving relationships amongst each other in an ideal sort of setting. And Krishna's Krishna's early life was spent there, and the people there, they felt great attachment to him as their hometown boy, so to speak, and they had very, very close relationships with him, and they had every chance to exchange love with him. And later, when he went on to become a great monarch, they were not so happy about that. They were not thinking, oh, you know, this person from our village is now this great powerful person. They didn't actually, they felt the opposite of that. They thought, just give it up and come back. We don't like this. We're so attached to him. We don't care about anything else. We just want him to stay here and live with us. We're not impressed by any of his achievements. They had this very exacting type of love. And they were always missing him for many years. But then this event of the solar eclipse came, and it was also a custom in their community to travel to a sacred place and perform the appropriate rites. So they also traveled to Kurukshetra at this time. So they met again in a third location. And at that time, there was produced a great mixture of feelings, because persons who loved each other very dearly were being reunited after a very long time. So on the one hand, there was a great feeling of joy and celebration. But at the same time, there was a sense of, you might call awkwardness or even frustration, that although they were being reunited, the circumstances did not allow them to meet and exchange affection as they would have wanted. Because now Krishna is a king, and these village people can't just walk up and meet a king. They can't converse with him informally as they know him. There's, bodyguards and ministers around and so many people, and he's dressed in a very regal manner, and everything is different. So it's this feeling of so close but so far. So this mixture of emotions just churns their hearts. and brings out all this intensity of feelings. So at that time, their only desire is just leave it all and come home with us. Come home with us now. That's really what they want. So there is a poem in which they express their feelings. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, during this festival, he was meditating on this poem. As he was dancing, then this feeling of wanting to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan, that was prominent within his heart and mind. So that poem says, Ahushchaste nalina nava parar vindam Yogeshware hridi vichinta magadhavudhai Samsara kupa patito taranavalandam Geham jushamati madhusuryat sadam. Where they describe themselves as different than everyone else. They say that we are not like sages and scholars and brilliant people who philosophize about the nature of existence and meditate upon the supreme truth and are detached from all sorts of conventional lifestyles and live in seclusion discussing complicated matters amongst this elite group. We are not like that. And we are also not like people who are struggling to survive in life and poor and maybe diseased and underprivileged and wishing that we could be saved from all the troubles of this world by some sort of divine savior who could bring us to some land where we live happily ever after with peace and prosperity. We are not like that either. Rather, we are people who simply like our happy country life. We like our simple country life. We are not miserable in it, nor are we seeking to transcend it. We are completely happy with this life, and we just want you back in our life. We just want to love you. We don't want anything else. And this sentiment is the primary current of all of Gaudiya thought, and actually of the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. In all the other Vedic texts, you will never find anywhere this pure type of conception of love, which is not what they call soteriological in any sense. It's not based on the pursuit of salvation or transcendence at all. It's simply love for love's sake, but in connection with not any material person, but in connection with that supreme eternal person who we have an eternal, natural, spiritual relationship with. So in other words, the thing that is the dearest, most direct aspect of life, but in connection with the ultimate reality itself. And that is the fruit. The Srimad Bhagavatam is compared to a tree, which is giving the fruit of all the scriptures. And this love is like the juice of that fruit. It's like the very nectar that it's all about. That's how it describes itself at the beginning of the book. So they just express this feeling. Geham jushamapi madhusuryat sanam. We just want that we will hold you within our hearts in the midst of our household life. That's all we do. Don't stay away, just come back. And so this plays upon Krishna's heart very strongly. Very strongly. There's actually nothing more strong. It is said that Krishna is the supreme, omniscient, omnipotent being. So he's not impressed by anybody's power. Right? If you're the omnipotent God, nobody's really very strong or very powerful or anything in comparison to you. Yet, it is said that although he is omnipotent and supremely knowledgeable and powerful, he comes under the control of bhakti. Bhakti is more powerful than even his quote-unquote omnipotence. And that is highlighted by Rupa Goswami, by many of the great scriptural thinkers, that this is his greatest quality, that he has this weakness, or he has this susceptibility to being controlled by the love of his devotees. And so, at this time, this type of expression of pure love, there is nothing more powerful than that, actually. And so it plays upon him very strongly. And then he speaks like a coded message in return. in a way that, according to the circumstances, sounds normal for everyone else present, but yet satisfies the hearts of those people when he knows really what they mean. Because for all the onlookers, these people look like simple village people. They look almost, you might say, like a little like country bumpkins who don't really get what's going on. Like, he's the king, he's in charge of everything. And you're saying, just give it up and live with us in the country. It's kind of like, well, wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be so easy if we could all just have a happy country life like you? You know, we're busy with managing the state and protecting people and enforcing justice. You know, we've got so many jobs to do. We can't just have a little country happy life like you. You're some country bumpkins. You think, like, you'd be happy to go home. You know, the rest of the people, they're thinking like that. You know, but Krishna, he has to say something that doesn't disturb the minds of everyone else there, but yet actually shows that he completely agrees with them and he is reciprocating with their love. So he says, Mai bhaktir hi bhutanam amrita taya kalpate dishtya mat asin mat sneho bhavatinam marapana. Which again has some layers of meaning, and generally it means that people, they have bhakti, they have devotion for me, for the sake of, because they want what he uses a cryptic term on purpose here, amrita. So amrita, by one analogy, means this like beverage that makes one quote, nearly immortal, that is found in the celestial gardens that are said to be achieved by following all the various rituals prescribed in the Vedas. This like conventional idea of lead a moral life and then achieve some sort of celestial paradise as a result. So one sense of amrita is that. So he says, people, they have bhakti for me. In other words, they follow these practices of worshiping God because they want to go to heaven, celestial paradise, and have this ever new body and enjoy as they like. So that's their purpose. A second meaning, the word amrita more literally means a state of non-death. So more broadly, amrita means that which literally makes one immortal. So not what leads one to a celestial paradise, but what actually extricates one from samsara, or this indeterminate cycle of repeated birth and death. In other words, it brings one completely out of entanglement in all types of karma and all types of suffering. So he also means to say that other people, they worship me just for salvation. But by saying this, the unstated implication is that that's what they do. Like, I'm not impressed by this. This doesn't even have any appeal to me at all. In other words, all these people who have bhakti for me, they actually don't. It's all just a transaction. They're making this worship and they want the result in return. And so then in contrast to all those persons, which in other words means the majority of people who follow all the different Vedic teachings, he says, Dishtya asin mot sneho. By fortune, you have affection for me. Ovatina marapana. And because of that, you will meet me, or we will be reunited. Fortunately, you just have affection for me. So he means to contrast that. These people, they have bhakti, but you have this affection. You have this pure sense of a personal connection with me. And by that, we will be reunited. So for the general people, that means that these people, they're special. They have this special affectionate relationship with Krishna, so he'll pacify them. He'll give them what they want in time. He'll bless them according to what he considers best for them. So it sort of suits his purposes in the social sense. And the way the grammar works in the verse, this term drishtya means by fortune, but it's not specified whose fortune it is. So one meaning is that it's your fortune that you have some affection for me, and by that something good will come to you, like a king or a god speaking to someone. You're lucky you think I'm so great. You know, they might take it like this. But actually what he means is the opposite. All these people who supposedly have bhakti for me, they don't. my fortune, the real thing that I cherish is your affection for me. You have pure love for me. And Madhava, by that we will be reunited. In other words, I can't resist it. You win. I'm controlled. I'm coming back. That's the coded message of what he's saying. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as he's remembering these things, then what would be the joy at that time when the people of Vrindavan win and they make this appeal of their heart to Krishna, and he says, okay, I'm not going back to the palace, I'm not going back to all these royal affairs, I'm just coming back to Vrindavan with you. How much joy would they feel? How much excitement would they have? Then that is what is felt at the Rath Yatra. That is the celebration they are having, this tremendous excitement of having brought Krishna under the control of their love and bringing him back, where they're going to now shower him with so many various types of offerings and gestures, and have all the connection with him that they deeply desire. So these feelings are in the heart of Mahaprabhu and the devotees. And the way that he came to conceive of this, I'll just make one more point, is that there is some history where it is explained how Krishna came to assume this form of Jagannath. Because in the words of Guru Maharaj, he is a very awkward figure. Or in other places he said, a peculiar figure. In other words, he has, he means to say deformed. Something that doesn't look normal and may not even be initially aesthetically appealing to people. A person with an oversized, disproportionate base and no hands and a small body. This is, by ordinary analysis, a very strange, awkward appearance. But how is it that Krishna came to assume this sort of appearance, and why is it so beautiful? Why does it have this mysterious meaning to it? Then there is some discussion, and it is said that there was an occasion when Krishna was in Dwaraka, and while he was there, he had every sort of leisure, every sort of privilege that any person could have. Any sort of royal privilege that you might imagine, he had them all. So in other words, he had every luxury anyone could have. Yet, he couldn't sleep at night, and no one could find out why. He was restless, he was constantly seemed distressed or disturbed, and everyone was bringing everything they could think of, and nothing was working. And the various queens and other, members of the royalty, they were in disbelief. Like, what's wrong? Why is he, what you might say in modern day, like, why is he in anxiety? Why doesn't he calm? And sometimes they would even hear that when at last, sometimes when he could manage to get some sleep, he would just be talking all the time in his dreams. They could hear him talking while he's dreaming. And all they're hearing is about this place called Vrindavan. All of his dreams are about Vrindavan. And he's just mentioning the people of Vrindavan, talking about them constantly in his dreams. So they can just get some kind of idea that every time he manages to sleep, he's immediately dreaming of Vrindavan. And anytime we offer him or bring him anything, he is sort of half interested and seems to be thinking about something else. So it must be that this place, these people from Vrindavan, have this kind of very mysterious, powerful, mystical charm over him. So the people became very much inquisitive. What is that place? I mean, it's just a forest area with these cowherd people. What appeal could that have for him when he has everything? So they were very curious to know, And when Krishna came to the coastal palace, Dwaraka, then he was accompanied by his brother, as well as by his brother's mother. That's another story, it's a little complicated. So they came, the queens, they came to the brother's mother. Her name is Rahini. And she's the one who was in Vrindavan. So they think, you know what Vrindavan is all about. Please, tell us about this place. Tell us about those people. what kind of love do they have for Krishna that makes him just unable to forget them? And she says, that is a very deep subject. We will need special time and place set aside for this. So they agree. Okay, this in this place, we will all set aside our time, we will come there, behind a locked door. Okay. With a guard. Okay. Then they all come, it's ready, and he's going to talk about Vrindavan. And then she says, okay, but someone has to guard the door. So one of the queens, she volunteered. Okay, I'll stand outside and guard the door. So she's waiting outside. And behind the door, then Rohini starts talking all about this purest type of love you can find anywhere in the infinite reality. And it is deeply moving to hear about this type of love. And the people of Dwarka who are hearing, they are spellbound to hear this, spellbound completely. And it is said that this type of pure love, it is actually composed of a type of spiritual energy. It is like an energy that possesses people almost. And that energy can even produce some type of transformations in the body of people. It can produce some like deformed or ecstatic states in people. So it is said that when this discussion came and this energy and this spirit of this love was manifest by that discussion, then Subhadra was her name, she's the guard out the door, but she's listening behind the door the whole time. And this produced such a transformation in her that her eyes became huge and wide, and this sort of ecstatic transformation came in her body. And but this, you can say anything that's really ecstatic, you're not even aware that it's happening. It's not that you're deciding to be this way, it's just happening to you. So she's in this state, she doesn't even know she's in this state. And by the arrangement of providence, then Balaram, Krishna's brother, comes walking by. And he sees Subhadra in this condition and he's shocked. What's happening here? So he's trying to gather evidence. What could be the cause? He hears some sound, the door is locked, but he starts to listen. And then, under the influence of that, this transformation also comes over him. So the two of them now, unaware of each other, are in this state outside the door. And then Krishna comes along and says, what's happening here? And then this third same thing happens to him. And so, this is all to show how powerful not only this love is, but even talk of this love is a very sublime thing. And then finally Rohini concluded her description. And so when the description concluded, then gradually this mood started to pass and the transformation in the body was just starting to meld back into normal. But it is said that at that time, then one very well-known sage or character, if you will, named Narad Muni, he came walking by. And he saw Krishna and Balaram and Subhadra in this sort of state, and he thought, wow, it is so beautiful. This is a very wonderful thing. Krishna, overwhelmed by the feeling of the love of his devotees. This is a very beautiful thing. I want that the whole world will see this transformation in Krishna. That they will know, that they will see how powerful this love of the people of Vrindavan is, and how much it moves them. So when he comes up, then Krishna is just sort of coming out of it, if you will, and he sees Narada, and Narada says, my lord, I've never seen you appear in this way. I've never seen you give such darshan. And I want to request you, please, I want that the whole world will see you in this form. That everyone will have this blessing, to know and to see you in this way. And Krishna, he granted that desire. So it is said that, and there is some other history about how it came to be in a practical way, that this temple in Jagannath Puri and these deities, Balaram, Jagannath and Subhadra, that they are the fulfillment of that blessing that Krishna gave to Narada, that fulfillment of Narada's desire. So Mahaprabhu, he chose this place for his Leela to further reveal the significance of this. And this festival, the Bhakti Yatra, is the blossoming, or all of these elements coming together to produce this tremendous experience, which is beautifully recorded by Kaviraj Goswami and has continued as a tradition up to today. And not only that, but by the great work of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, then this custom of having a Ratha Yatra festival, in other words chariots with these deities, has also taken up or become practiced around the world in various cities by many communities of devotees. And it so happens that this weekend that is happening today in New York City. So right now there's thousands of people Hare Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna right now and thinking about these things perhaps. So I'll pause there, Marsh. I hope that is appropriate and welcome your request. I was about to say is that there is some account in Skanda Puran, but I personally have not read the Skanda Puran to confirm exactly what is written there. Would you like to say more about that, Marsh?
No, I don't know much, but one thing that I heard, that in Prahlad Maharaj also did this Rath Yatra of Lord Jagannath. So we can understand that is Chakshusha Manvanta. Today is Vaivasvata Manunu. That was Chakshusha. Around that time, maybe we can trace the history to that time at least. Means almost half a day of Brahma in that.
Yeah, because most of the references are to say that it's very mysterious as to when that Jagannath deity first appeared. And you were mentioning Narada Muni wanted to bring that deity before the people. But when was that? Was there a king there? I think there was a certain king that was...
Yes. I mean, we may take it in two ways. One way, it is part of eternal lila, so it is coming again and again. And there, as it is said, in different kalpas, sometimes the Lord's lilas are fulfilled in different ways. So there may be some history is told about how it has happened in this particular age, but when exactly that took place, there is some differences of opinion amongst historians. But the general story is that there was prior to the appearance of Jagannath, there was a deity named Nil Madhav.
Yes.
And a king came to power in that area named Indradumna Maharaj, and he was of Vaishnava orientation and influence. So he wanted to worship Nil Madhav in his capital. So he had this desire, and he had a chief minister named Vidyapati, who he sent out, please, can you bring this deity of Nil Madhav, and we will worship him grandly. And news came out that the king wanted to quote unquote take Nil Madhav. So the person who was actually worshipping Nil Madhav wasn't so happy about that idea. So he went into hiding. And although Vidyapati and others searched very widely, there's more detail, I'm just telling a little short. They could not find the deity. But eventually Vidyapati, after searching so much, he was almost giving up, and he came to stay with one old Brahmin and his daughter, and he was about to stop, but then he stayed for a little while, and then some relationship between himself and the daughter started, and sort of on accident he discovered Nil Madhav, so to speak. He happened to meet this girl who, out of the customs of the time, wanted to honor him as a guest, and then they fell in love. But while he was there, he observed that the girl's father was always going out every day very early and coming back smelling very fragrant. And he looked to be of the nature of a person who would regularly engage in ritual. So then he started to think, maybe this person is going and doing some puja today. So then he asked the daughter, who does your father worship? And then this daughter says, this is actually, my father is the one, So then with a trick, he was agreed that he could go to have darshan of Nil Madhav, but he would be blindfolded, so that he could not retrace the steps. But the daughter suggested, here, take some seeds and strew them as you go, and then later when you come back, there will be some plants and you'll be able to find the way. So like that it was done, and when he had the darshan, then he understood this is Nil Madhav. So very discreetly he went back to the king and informed the king, I am successful in my mission. I have found Nil Madhav. Somehow or another was successful. And then the king came there to claim Nil Madhav. But he heard a voice from the sky who said, no, you cannot just come here and take me like this. If you want me to come, first you must make a temple, you must make everything appropriate for my worship, then I will come. So go back, and I will give you further instructions. So then he goes back, then he builds the grand temple, what we now call the Temple of Jagannath in Puri. And then after the temple is built, he's thinking, okay, when is Bhagavan coming? I did everything, I'm ready. So he's fasting and fervently praying, please give me a sign, how will you come? And then then the Lord speaks to him and says, you will find 3 logs or 3 pieces of great mass coming out of the ocean. You will collect them, and with you must be your minister Vidyapati, as well as his name was Vishwavasu, the father of the daughter who Vidyapati fell in love with. They must also be there. And so and many other conditions, a golden chariot and other things. So everything is arranged, and then they come to the shore of the ocean, and lo and behold, there are some great pieces of wood, and they're brought back in great style. And then the king thinks, okay, well then we must make deities from this wood. And he commissions some great artists, and they start to carve the deities. But as they start to carve, it doesn't work. The wood breaks the metal, and their tools don't work. And then he thinks, oh, this is a sign, there must be something more. So again, he prays to the Lord, and then the Lord says, I will send my man. He will carve. You will not decide how I appear, I will show you. So when whoever comes next, you accept him and whatever conditions he gives. Okay. So then one old leper came, looked very incapable for the task. And he said, I am here, I have heard this task is here to carve. And the king thinks, oh, this is whom I must accept. And so he makes these conditions. I will take 3 weeks. I must have undisturbed solitude. Lock the door, give me a private place, no one will disturb me, and I will perform this work. Okay, whatever conditions you have, they will be fulfilled. Then everything happens, and the work starts, and the queen is very excited. And she's coming and listening and hearing some sounds of chop, 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 chop or something. And then after maybe 2 weeks, she doesn't hear any more sound. And 1 or 2 days pass, not hearing any sound at all. So she starts to get very alarmed, and she thinks, how is this person here for 3 weeks? We're not even giving him food. And, how is it possible that we don't hear any sound? And so we have to go in and check on him. And the king says, no, we agreed to these conditions, we cannot violate the conditions. But she says, yes, we have to see that he's okay. So they had this difference of opinion, and then eventually the door was opened. And then they came, and that carver was nowhere to be seen. And they discovered Jagannath Baladev Subhadra in this quote-unquote unfinished form. And then they took it, well, this is the arrangement, we quote-unquote broke the contract, so the job was not finished, or something like that. But from another perspective, with this background, it is understood that this is actually how the Lord wanted to come. And then after that, there were some additional prayers and communications between Indradimma and the Lord, and then eventually the deities were going to be installed and inaugurated, and he wanted to invite Lord Brahma to come and perform the inauguration. So he went up to Brahmaloka, but there is a different sequence of time between Brahmalok and Bhulok, this world. So in the time that he went there, many, many years passed on the earth. And so people considered him to have passed on, and the temple became even like neglected and covered.
That was before Jagannath came.
Uh-huh.
Because
Before the carving or before the
no,
installation?
before Jagannath deity came, that the wood came.
Oh, that part was before. Oh, okay. And so it was lost, the temple.
Buried in the sand.
Yes.
Was that in the Dwarpa? Yuga? What happened?
Satya Yuga.
And the Satya Yuga? Okay.
Indradumna was king in Satya Yuga.
Huh?
Satya Yuga.
So it was there since Satya Yuga?
That time it was a big mountain. That time it was a big mountain, not like today. Like
Niladri Parvat.
What happened when he came down from Brahmalok?
So he came back, and then was it Gada, or there was some other person who had become the king in that place.
Galu Madhav.
Galu Madhava. I don't remember. Okay, I don't remember the name. And so, you know, he came back to, and they said, "Who are you?" And then there was this, you know, debate.
Mining now.
But then he went and pointed out, dig here, and they found this whole temple, and then they realized, oh, he's not just a random guy. And then it was understood. And then after that, eventually the inauguration was performed, and some special conditions. Remember those conditions?
When? Which one?
I think it was at the inauguration. Then
Inauguration of the temple?
yeah.
No, that he asked the boon, Indradumna,
Uh-huh.
that there should not be anybody in my family who will claim that this temple is our temple.
Mm-hmm.
So that boon was given to him. And he sacrificed his sons, you know. That Ottaranala is supposed to be 18 sons he sacrificed. So that nobody should be claiming this is our temple.
And there was another thing, though. I think that he was so moved by the beauty of the Lord that he wanted that everyone could come and have the darshan of Jagannath, and that no one would have to live without that, or waiting for that. So the Lord agreed and said, "I will give darshan for 21 hours a day." So the temple is only closed for 3 hours a day. And then there's a few other like that, right? There's another one about prasadam. I forget, but there's a few special conditions about this temple that are.
Prasadam, there are many stories, you know, Durga Devi and so many stories. It's known as Prasad Khetra also. Puri is known as Prasad Khetra.
If this boon was
I
there,
heard that today also no aeroplane can fly above the temple. If they fly, their path somehow changes.
if
And the flag always blows in one direction.
And flag always blows in a direction opposite to the wind.
but if this one boon was there about everyone taking darshan at the temple, it's very ironic that only Hindus are allowed in the temple.
Actually, before Mahaprabhu Maharaj, the way Jagannath temple's traditional worship was there was different. When Mahaprabhu came,
It was what?
the method of worship was completely different.
Really?
Yes. And when Mahaprabhu came, he changed it completely.
Really?
Yes.
One more thing is,
Also,
Yeah.
one more important thing is that there was a Acharya. His name is Vishnu Swami. And when he was Acharya in South India, there was a king, and his son was known as Devatanu. And then he was like empowered by the Lord, and then he came to Puri area, and that time Jagannath was being worshipped as a Buddhist deity.
Oh.
So he defeated those Buddhists and sort of rescued Jagannath, and again in this age he started the Rath Yatra. So because that king's name was later on Pandu Vijaya, and because of that king, when Jagannath comes out during Rath Yatra like this, that is called as Pahandi Vijaya. So in this age, it started with Vishnu Swami's mercy.
But still, Maharaj, the worship, that's, that there, you will see now, was completely different before it was there. And you see, there is Chandan Jatra. It was not there.
What's that?
Chandan Jatra started by Mahaprabhu.
What is that?
In the time of, before Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu started this, like a, you call it, city visit of Lord with a palanquin, and he used to carry the representative of Jagannath, that Madan Mohan, to a pond which is known as Narendra Sarovar, and he used to give bath and the touring through the boat. It started by Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu started Gundicha Marjan. It was not there before, and the conception of the service, that Radha Dasyam, that is only started by Mahaprabhu. That the union of Krishna and Radharani, and how devotees are very much conscious about that, and how they are preparing, and that is only Mahaprabhu done that. Before that it was not there. And there are so many other ways of the new way of looking into Jagannath's worship came up by Mahaprabhu, and it was not there before, and people naturally accepted that. It's quite amazing. Generally, if anything proposed to Jagannath temple, they will not accept it. But when Mahaprabhu came, somehow everything naturally everybody accepted.
Yeah.
But they didn't leave their previous idea though.
This was not there.
Right. I know. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
not saying,
when
but
like
that I met one Rajguru Brahmin in Bhubaneswar, who he's from the bloodline of the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's line, the advisors of the king, and he has many friends who are the pujaris in the temple. And he told me that the present day mentality of the pujaris in the temple is that the worship of Jagannath is supreme because it contains all types of worship. And so they perform full Shakta, Shaivite and Vaishnav puja in the temple every day. And they also incorporated the vision of Jagannath as Krishna as given by Mahaprabhu. They accepted that into their view, but in their view, they see Jagannath as like the ultimate entity that all these things orbit around. They're not seeing like Rajendranandan Krishna as Savayam Bhagavan in the Siddhanta of
Even during
Bhagavatam.
Snan Jatra, they have worshipped Jagannath as Ganesh.
The what?
They worship Jagannath as Ganesh. Because one devotee came and wanted to see Jagannath as Ganesh. So that Ganesh form is also worshipped. And it is not wrong because Jagannath includes everything.
but Maharaj, there was one person that we met when we used to go earlier.
Yes.
He was like the sitting under the tree, like what is it, Kalpataru, and giving discussions. So one day Santa Maharaj, his style, he asked him about Salve.
About what?
Shalvek.
Shalveg.
He's a devotee of Jagannath.
Okay.
But that personality told, yeah, Salvek is good, but Jayadev is higher. So I understood that there is some, inner things are little bit
Completely transformed, I feel, after Mahaprabhu came.
Yeah.
Completely transformed. Even the way, people, what you can say, look at, the Rath Yatra festival is completely changed. Previously, people were thinking Rath Yatra festival is because there are some people who cannot enter into temple, so Jagannath is coming to give darshan. This is the only way they still now many Odisha people they see like that. It's only when we come to this line of Gaudiya line and we see that and how this conception came in all these different types of things manifested in Jagannath Puri. It was even Bhakti Thakur has a lot of influence in changing many things in that time also.
You can see how, when Mahaprabhu came, it was really, a revelation to everyone,
Yes.
even Muslims or whoever it was.
Yes.
It was for the first time, in the whole system of yugas there, that the whole Chakra Yuga up to the present, to his appearance, that the real, intimate relationship between the Lord and his devotees was revealed. Before that was all very formal.
Yes.
The Mahaprabhu came to preach to everyone. Right? And so Jagannath is coming out And he's revealing himself, and like we were saying, he's such a beautiful deity, you know? And the devotees wanted that beauty to be seen by everyone and attract the hearts of everyone. And that was Mahaprabhu's whole life, you know? That was the whole purpose of his appearance, actually.
And
Even the king Maharaj, Pratapudra Maharaj,
Huh?
the king of Puri, Pratapudra Maharaj, he became attracted to Mahaprabhu. And then because of that, the king became very humble person. And he made his ministers also humble in front of Mahaprabhu's devotees. So I think that king has some role here to make that, you know, whole. Even we find in the temple, they have carved the six-arm form of Mahaprabhu inside the temple. You know, pillar is there. And also in one place, there is Mahaprabhu's deities are also there. So in Puri they will not allow that Maharaj unless there is some, you know, thing happening through the proper system of that temple.
And people are coming with the broom and, you know, sweeping, putting the water, you know, and many of them may not be understanding what is the significance of that. But Mahaprabhu, you know, started, you know, revolutionary, you know, and it is like an integral part of Jagannath, you know, in worship. It was not there before it.
The king comes and sweeps.
Yeah.
You know.
That is also started by Mahaprabhu's, you know, time. Completely revolutionized everything.
And
I
there
think the sweeping was existing before Prataprudra, because what happened? Pratapradra's father's father was Purushottam Dev, and he was sweeping also. And then when his marriage proposal was there with the queen of the princess of Kanchi, and the minister given a report that you know, why you are giving your daughter marriage to a sweeper? So then, you know, there was some war, and, you know, there was some how Jagannath Baldev helped the Purushottam Dev. So I think that tradition of sweeping was existing before that.
And yes, that festival is very, very special. I mean, Jagannath is a very special deity,
Yes.
very special form of the Lord, very merciful. And he comes like that out to everyone to show himself, no matter who they are, very indiscriminately. Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, you know, they were just spreading love, prema dharma to everyone. Regardless of who they were, even when they were unqualified persons.
What is the meaning of Puri, Maharaj?
What is the meaning of Puri? Jagannath Puri, Purushottam Dham.
So there are many times they use the word Puri even in Dham, right? Madhupuri and like that. Puri, right? Madhupuri, right? Many times used that. What is the meaning of it?
Like Mayapur, Puri is there also Puri. Puri means, I guess, place, location.
Puri's location.
it indicates something like
It's not just a universal, abstract, somewhere, whoever is right there. He comes to you, he has his own particular manifestation. He doesn't just stay out there in Akash, in the outer Akash space, whatever. Jagannath means the master of the whole world, you know. So he comes right in front of your face to show that he is the master there, you know. He's not neglecting anything. How can he be absent from any place? Very good.
Previously the name they kept of Jagannath as Kalinganath. You know that, Maharaj?
Kalindranath?
Kalinga.
Kalindranath.
Kalinga.
Kolinga.
Kalinga is the previous name of Odisha. And
Oh,
then
I
there
see.
one king appeared there, saying, why are you limiting Lord like this? He is the Lord of universe. Then he started with Jagannath. Long back.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very nectarian. Anyone have any comments, questions? Did you follow
I totally enjoyed that. I was just enthralled with the whole. You were a good storyteller, and I love your smile so much. You know, I could feel your joy telling the story. So thank you for that.
You've got a core of happiness there. Right?
Oh.
It's really amazing.
Wonderful.
All right.
And Jagannath sent the ticket to him.
Huh?
Jagannath sent the ticket to him.
Okay. So,
I sent it to the Gaudiya Darshan that email. That you have, you got it, right? That email is still exists.
shall we chant our Vandanam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, no?
Process it.
Non-stop.
Non-stop, yeah.
He's going to Baltimore also.
No, no. You right now in New York.
You have planned to go.
Yeah. Well, I can write to Sripad and I think they can cancel standby.
What time is your flight now?
It's
7:30?
at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Do you have checked luggage or you just carry
I just have a carry-on.
Page 38. Vandeham Yutaparatamam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahajanaganam Sachivam Sahadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahajana Rita Shiva Chaitanya Om Adinat Virandasya Yananakada Savadaya Chakshurunitam Nina Kasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Puja Shri Vardhavandita Mahabhavanvalikaya Sada Gaurvaya Parampara Chacharita Kajya Prabhuta Gite Agirya Bhavavartasya Nibitam Samrakshakam Sadaram Vande Shri Gurudevam Manachasya Rastaya Vayavayam Govindas Praspurakam Gurudevam Chintya Samasta Veda Nikunam Sri Rupapadanam Govinda Vidam Ushalam Bharatanum Bhajyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Sadhum Chadivya Bhagavatam Vidyapadam Evam Divyatanam Suchandavaradam Bhavashikevam Chitam Sandrandapuram Sadhikavanam Vairagya Vidyapadam Shri Siddhantanikem Subhati Lasitam Sarasvatanam Varam Bhandetam Subhadam Madhikasaram Nyasishvaram Shri Dharam Shri Siddhanta Sarasvati Vidito Gauriya Gurnamare Mato Manavira Bhavata Gajane Yogora Sankirtanai Maya Bharatin Yogadhan Udaya Divarma Krishna Prema Sudhavijana Susam Bharata Bhum Nam Bhaje Namo Vaishvaraya Bhaktavaruta Mortai Purari Bhagavadaya Radha Vishye Vande Bhakti Vinodam Shri Guru Sakshati Gurupakam Bhakti Sasakya Samrajam Radha Rasa Sudhanidim Gauravata Sitakseshar Vaishnavaya Vande Vigraham Tadjanata Prabhu Mandiri Prema Vaishnavam Panchakapatadivasya Sindhu Patitam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnaveyo Namo Namaha Panchakapatatam Krishnam Bhakti-rupa Surupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Mamali Bhakta-shaktikam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Krishna Namaha Jayatam Suryo Paragor Mamamanda Matirgati Masarasa Parapujo Radha Namo Divya Vrindavan Vikalpadurmadam Srimad Rakanga Singha Sri Gandharva Sri Govindadevo Veshwaivi Sriman Asmami Sriman Rasasasami Shivata Tasmita Karshave Sanarogi Nata Sri Sura Jai Tulsi Jai Krishna Krishna Bhakti Devi Satavachaya Namo Namaha Atalanta Mantra Guru Bhagavatartalam Vyasacharya Guru Bhagavataraya Mudevaya Jai Satpalika Shri Guru Gauranga Gopal Sanatanajanam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Page 105. Amara Jivana Sarapati Rata Nahika Punyera Lesha
Amara Jivana Sarapati Rata Nahika Punyera Lesha
Arera Udrega Diyakti Ekata Diyakti Divera Lesha
Arera Udrega Diyakti Ekata Diyakti Divera Lesha Nija sukha lagi ape nahi dari Jayina sattapara
Ara sukhe sukhe sadamatya bhakti Ara dukhe sukhatara
Para sukha dukhi sada mitya vasi Para dukha sukha kara
Ashesha kamana Himahe Mora Rodidamba Parayana
Adesha kamana Himate mora Kori namba parayana
Madhava Sada Visaye Mohita Uttagara Vibhushana
Madhamata sada vishaye mohita Hintagara vibhushana
Niralasya Hatta Sakare Virata Akare Yogi
Nirada sahata sukari vihata Akade yogi ami
Pratishta Lagiya Satya Acharana Yogahata Sahakari
Pratishthala giya sakha sharana Logata sarakami
Vede Adojana Sadhana Bhajitva Aparagi Rantara
Ehena dujana sadhana bhajita Aparanirantara
Subhataya Sunya Sadhana Tamana Nara Duke Gata
Suvakarya sunya sadhananta mana Nana dukhe sarajara Bhagavate kana upaya vidina Tatilina kinchana Makati vinoda prabhura charane Kare dukha nivedana Amara jnana sarapa priyata Nahika punyera
Jackie Maharaj?
I have lots of questions, actually. But, so where are you from originally?
California.
You were born in California?
Yeah.